Hi, I'm Sean Fell, and I am doing my video report for Writing Workshop 3 comics on the graphic novel Saga, as you can see here. The creative team consists of the writer Brian Vaughn, illustrator was Fiona Stables, and lettering was done by Phonographics, and the coordinator was Eric Stevenson. The publisher is Image Comics. It is about 164 pages. It's broken up into 6 chapters. It does follow the 3-act structure, though. Act 1 ends around page 43. Act 2 begins around 46 and is separated by a chapter. The chapter, there's a blank page followed by, a chapter image, and then it goes back into the storyline. The first chapter is pretty much the introductory chapter. Chapters 2 through 5 are the body of the story, and then it is concluded on chapter 6. It follows the 25%, 50%, 25% model. Told from the perspective of the baby that was in that image. I'll show you it again. The baby's name is Hazel. Let me get that to focus. You see her in the mother's arms right there, nursing. The female's Elena, and the male with the ram's horns is Marco. The story is following the mother and father, Marco and Elena, as they try to escape from authorities brought about through the birth of Hazel. It's kind of like a Romeo and Juliet type storyline, except for the lovers don't kill each other in the end. It's as if Romeo and Juliet were to have a baby and they were trying to escape their families. But instead of families, it's different races. Marco's race is from the moon, and they are in conflict with Elena's race, which is from the planet. The story pretty much begins at the point where the two give birth to Elena, and the two factions actually find them about the same time, and they escape pretty much because the two factions slaughter each other. And that's how the story begins. It also introduces the Blue Bloods, or the Royal Class. The Royal Class is made up of the robotic race, kind of a bio-robotic race. Televisions or computer monitors, but the bodies of, human bodies. That was a picture of one of the main antagonists. That was a Prince Robot IV. He is sent to hunt these two down and acquire the baby if possible. Well, not if possible. They want the baby alive. He represents the people of the planet, and then the people of the moon, that faction, they hire a bounty hunter. Well, they're called freelancers, not bounty hunter. This is him with his, he says it's his partner. It's called a lie cat. Pretty much the cat can detect lies, and if you tell a lie, it will say lie. If it's telling the truth, it just growls or moans. The overall story arc is pretty fair. It doesn't arc too much, but it's basically the introductory book of a series of books. It introduces the antagonists and the protagonists. The character arcs, as far as Elena, Marco, and Hazel. The baby doesn't do much, of course, but the mother and father, when they first met, it was in a prison. She was a prison guard. He was a prisoner. He was a fairly good soldier. She was a very poor soldier. So the character arc pretty much turns that around. He becomes pacifist for the sake of the child, and she becomes more of a warrior for the sake of the child. Uh, Hers is more for motherly instincts and needing to protect and destroy anybody who tries to harm her child. And he uh, feels that, you know, violence leads to more violence, and he feels that by not committing any violent acts, it would provide a safer environment for Hazel. These little personality twists end up causing conflict between the two parents, Elena and Marco, through the story. But it does add a pretty good element to their relationship. Um, it makes it makes the reading more interesting. As far as the two antagonists, which is I'll start off with Prince Robot the Fourth. Prince Robot is assigned to. He just returned from war. He and his wife are trying to create a child, and his father immediately sends him back out on a mission to kill these two and acquire the child. The prince is not really interested in doing that. He just returned home and he wants to spend time with his wife. They want to start a family, and then he has to go and do this right away by the command of the king. And, you know, he's more into getting them not for any sense of justice, but more for a sense just to get back to his family and get on with his life. The freelancer, the Will, he was hired to do the same, kill the parents, take the child, and return them to the Moonvies, or I don't know if I'm saying that right, the people of the moon. So he goes out and he's told that there are other trackers out there to motivate him to work faster and harder to get to the reward that is offered. He soon finds out that there's one of the other trackers is the Stalk, and she is really good. And he said, well, I'm not even going to try, I'm just going to live it up. And then because they're pretty much good as caught, I guess she's the best of the trackers. There ends up being a little bit of a twist between the two trackers in the end, which that ends up bringing him back into the story. The transitions are pretty easy to see. They're separated in chapters, and each chapter begins with a splash page and ends with a splash page. What I'm assuming are odd number pages. They do have the page turners to where you keep wanting to see each page. But pretty much it's all page turner. It was all page turner for me, but I think it was pretty well lined up as far as that. Cells themselves, they're pretty basic, nothing real complex or fancy. They're real easy to follow. This right here shows this is the other freelancer, there she is, the spider lady here, and as you can see, it goes from left to right in a Z pattern. The balloons make it pretty easy to follow. When there's someone talking on the phone, you can see there's the ragged balloon. There's another secondary character that's introduced. It's a ghost. All the lettering is in red for her. But even without that, you can pretty much follow. all the storyline without really getting lost by the actual writing. It was pretty well. I think there was only one time I was kind of confused, um, but it didn't leave any real lasting negative impression on me. Each page pretty much was a mini comic. That's why I said every page was a page turner for me. Um, it was very well written. You know, it keeps you interested, makes you want to see the next book, and overall, I think it was really well done. I'm trying to think of any negatives on it. There is a lot of graphic violence, but not overly much. I mean, it's where necessary. It's not unnecessary graphic violence. Um, and there's also nudity, which for me, I never understood nudity in anything drawn or, well, in any medium for that matter, and other than to give it maybe a true life feel. I could see some nudity in the birthing scenes and nursing. Actual sex scenes are not really for me. They don't really bring anything to the story. And there's some of that in here, so I mean, it's not as far. It depends on how open-minded you are, whether or not this is a good read or worth reading. I do recommend it. I think as far as a storyline, it's very readable, as long as the graphic language, violence, and sexual scenes are not an issue. If those are an issue, then this is definitely not a book for you. But it does bring a lot of realism to it. But you know, some of it I thought was unnecessary, but it didn't ruin the story for me. So it wasn't excessive. Um, and that is all I really have left to say on this. Everybody have a good day. Thank you.